we ready to go? Alrighty. Good afternoon. Today is January 28th, 2025, and I will call to order the Madison Common Council Executive Committee meeting. Staff, could you please call the roll?
Yes.
Karen.
Oh, you can call me. President Figueroa Cole.
Here.
Vice President Duncan. Here. Alder Govindarajan. Alder Conklin.
Present.
Alder Martinez Rutherford. Alder Martinez Rutherford. I'll come back to her. Alder Uguer.
Present.
I saw something happen. Alder Martinez Rutherford. Alder Harrington McKinney.
Present.
Alder Curry.
Here.
And I see Alder Martinez Rutherford online. I guess
Okay. We do have quorum, right?
we have quorum. Yeah.
We can check her when she's back in.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes from the last meeting? Any updates? You got, Tina? Yeah, thank you. Don't see any hands raised. So, Vice President Duncan? Thank you. A second, please. Thank you. Second by John over here. Is there any discussion on these minutes? Is there any issue on recording a unanimous vote for them? I don't see any hands raised, so seeing no objections, we will record unanimous votes on the minutes from the last meeting. The next item on the agenda is the public comment. Karen, do we have any speakers?
We do not have any registrants.
Thank you. So we move on then to disclosures and recusals. Members of the body should make any required disclosures or recusals under the city ethics code. Are there any disclosure or recusals related to these agenda items? I don't see any hands raised. So we will move on to the first item for consideration, which is Legistar 86178, authorizing the city attorney in consultation with the mayor to join the city as amicus in any cases related to environmental sustainability, environmental justice, or climate change, which promote or impact Madison's policy of being an environmentally sustainable and resilient community where all Madisonians can thrive now and in the future. A motion. A second?
Second.
Okay. Do we have any questions for staff on this item? Or do you prefer Attorney Haas to give us a quick summary? Maybe we should do that first. Attorney Haas, can you just give us a quick summary about this policy, and then if people have questions, they can proceed after that?
Sure, thank you. This is, some of the alders may know, this is another example of a resolution that the council has considered to allow us to join as an amicus party in litigation where the city is not a party. So to unpack that a little bit, there are 4 or 5 resolutions currently that the council has adopted over the years to allow us to join in a lawsuit supporting one side or the other when it impacts certain policy areas. So currently we have similar resolutions related to election law, immigration law, reproductive health, human rights, and equality for women. I think they're the categories we have currently. And so we regularly get invited to join litigation that may be happening somewhere around the country. If it could impact a policy that the city has, even in theory. Sometimes these are cases that are happening in other states. They may be either challenging a federal law or a federal rule, or they may be supporting a federal rule or law that is being challenged by another party. And an amicus brief is simply a legal brief that is submitted in a case that reflects the views of parties that want to support one side or the other, but are not part of the lawsuit. And so we have, over the years, joined as an amicus in a number of different areas that I mentioned. And our process is under these resolutions that we consult with the mayor when we get an invitation to join, and we ask the mayor if they are interested in lending their name or the city's name or our office's name, depending on the lawsuit, to the effort. And then those are legal briefs that the court reads and can take into consideration any arguments that are made. Sometimes it's an attempt to add data or examples so that the court gets a feeling for how some litigation or some federal law might be impacting municipalities on the ground. So in a way, you can look at this as almost either a restriction or guidance for our office. Our office is authorized under state law to conduct all of the legal business of the city. And so theoretically, without a resolution like this, our office could be deciding to join, any lawsuit under the sun for any reason that at the whim of the city attorney. So this provides a little bit more structure and guidance for our office. In this particular case, it is focused on environmental regulation and environmental litigation, and we would be looking for or entertaining invitations to join lawsuits that are consistent with the city's views on environmental regulation and sustainability.
Thank you, Attorney Haas. Are there any questions for Attorney Haas?
And the Sustainability Medicine Committee did recommend approval last night.
Alder Ugary?
Thank you, Chair. I was just wondering if there were any imminent requests for us to file in one of these matters.
Good question. Not currently. The reason that's came to light really is because we had an invitation, I think it was late last summer or last fall, to join a lawsuit, and we realized at that time that we did not have a resolution in place for this policy area. So that's what prompted us to work with the mayor's office on this resolution.
Point of order. I'm sorry, but when John Alder Ugair talked, we could not hear anything he said.
Oh,
We can't hear nothing.
thank you. I'm sorry. Alder, that was my mistake. I didn't press the microphone. Sure.
So my question, Alder, was whether we had any current requests for us to file an amicus brief in an environmental case. And perhaps you heard Attorney Haas's response. And I had no further questions. Thank you.
Alder Conklin, do you have any other questions in that regard? No, okay, thank you. And Alder Curry, I think you have what's up. Is that about the audio? Maybe. All right. Okay, so.
Yes, Chair, sorry.
Thank you, that's okay. Thanks for the update to let me know. Is there are there discussions on this topic? And is there then, I don't see any hands raised. Is there any objection to record a unanimous vote in favor of this, to adopt this, this resolution, A6178? I see no objection, so we record that as adopted. Next agenda item is Legistar A6606, amending section 3.70 of the Madison General Ordinance related to public records to align with current technology, city practices, and state law. A motion, please. Second. Okay. So Attorney Haas, this one has created some questions. And if you have a summary of it, I really appreciate it. I think we will have some comments on this one.
Sure. And I apologize, I did not realize this was on the agenda tonight for CCC. This is also referred to Public Safety Review Committee later in February. So most of what,
Okay,
okay?
I'm confused. Go ahead, just go ahead.
Most of what this ordinance does is clean up some language in our ordinances about how we respond to public records requests. And just based on how they are handled and some updates and procedures, there is one key provision here, which is there is a new state statute you may have heard about, which permits municipalities to charge the cost of redaction of law enforcement audio and video records. So currently, the law is that municipalities can charge for the time spent, staff time spent in locating records, but cannot charge for the time in redacting information. Some records, we have to redact information because it falls under certain exceptions, and that time cannot be charged to the requester. There is a state law passed last year that now allows municipalities to charge, and this version of the ordinance amendment would essentially enact that or give direction to the police department to charge in those cases. There is a substitute being drafted that would remove that language. That is what the mayor requested that we do, and to set that aside, possibly to consider at a later date. I'm not sure whether it will come back or not, but at this time, just to take on the kind of the language that is really more technical in updating parts of the ordinance that we thought were outdated. So, so I'm not sure how you want to act on it tonight, if you want to wait for a substitute or take any vote tonight.
Well, I'm a little bit confused as to why this is in our agenda since it was in another committee. I think, I don't know, maybe I missed it on the review of the prior agenda or something?
Well, yeah, generally there is the rule that if things go to another committee, they're not sent here.
That's the ordinance.
Pardon?
That's in the ordinance sheet that we made, yeah?
Right. I mean, this is this would be a citywide practice. I'm not sure why it came
So
here.
I'm just saying, I don't know if we really need to take a vote on this, and it will then go to the public review committee, no?
It will, right, February 12th.
Well, it's set to come back. We're set to do something with it.
Is CCC the lead on this, or is,
I mean, you guys,
yeah, so.
check.
1 minute, people, please. I'm sorry. We're checking onto this because,
Here's what I got. Yes. Mine. Your office has this as the lead. But these pulled in separate. These pulled in early for some reason. So it's supposed to come
And so,
2:11.
it could come back to CCC before, I don't know when it's set to return at the council. It might have to be referred.
Alder Govindarajan, you have a question? Well, they did figure out the technical issue here with the dates.
Yes, I've been working with the attorneys in the mayor's office on this. This is supposed to go to the Public Safety Committee, I believe like February 9th, and then come back to Common Council on the first meeting of February. So can I motion this for the next CCEC meeting? Because it's not coming to council tonight.
But again, the ordinance states that only things that we handle here are things that do not go to other committees. So I don't understand why this was even coming here to begin with when it was sent to the police committee, to the police review committee.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Legislar has PRC in control.
Again, so we don't need to solve this at this moment. I really wanted to, well, figure out what is going on with Legistar, but there seems to be a little bit of confusion on regards to what the body is, and if the request is that we have to make a motion, then I guess Attorney Haas can direct us to what that might be. But I don't understand why this is here. It shouldn't have come to this committee.
I think the question is, what date is it scheduled to come back to the council? And it's now been referred to CCC, obviously, so
So do we have a date when it was supposed to go to council?
that's what I'm looking for.
So it's supposed to come back to council on February 11th.
No, February 25th.
See, again,
According to Legistar, it was to go to Public Safety Review Committee on February 12th and CCC on February 25th and back to the council on February 25th. So I'm not sure how it got pulled into this agenda.
yeah, I agree. So let's, I'm going to have Alder Harrington McKinney on the queue. You can unmute yourself, Alder.
Okay, I think that you're resolving it, and so with this conversation, and I know that the city attorney will direct us, do we place this on file? And so I know you're working toward how do we handle it, and so I'll put my motion in abeyance till we have instructions from him, and so if it's not supposed to be on our agenda, we should not be further discussing it.
Right, it's scheduled currently to come to CCC on February 25th, so I think it could be appropriate just to re-refer it to this committee on February 25th.
And so let's go back to what, I'm sorry, I was not recognized by the chair, but the chair said that if it's referred to a committee, it doesn't come to us. And so how are we handling that technicality?
I understand that, but I think at this point, the council referred it to CCC. So that's a decision the council made to send it to CCC, even though there was no discussion of it. So I think it should still come to CCC on February 25th.
You're saying because it was noticed that way on the prior agenda, it should not have been done that way, but it was done. Now we're stuck on this loop because it was already,
Right.
it was put out there into the universe that it was going to come back to us.
It was a council decision.
Got
So
it.
what I'm saying is the committee cannot override that council decision.
That's right. Does that make sense, Alder McKinney?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yeah, and we definitely should like trace what happened here because I heard way too many conflicting information about the dates. So we should definitely look into getting that resolved. Alder Duncan, your hand is up. Oh, no. All right.
Withdraw this motion and then.
So Alder Duncan will have to withdraw are you okay with withdrawing your motion and just have the referral back to what it was supposed to be?
Yep, so
25th or something. And a second? Second. Okay, and GR or John?
Oh, was it Jared?
Yeah. Alder Harrington McKinney, do you have a question?
Yes, Madam Chair. And so are items just automatically pulled into the agenda? So I just needed clarification on that. If you would,
That's what apparently happened. The item was just pulled into the agenda based on Legistar's, setup. So we will try to figure out how it got into Legistar. That way, I don't know what the issue was. So we'll definitely figure that out, and we can send an email to the body later explaining that. Would that work? Okay, thank you. So we have a second for a referral. Is there any objection with recording a unanimous vote for referral? I don't see any objections, so then we move on to the next agenda item.
Are we gonna go back? Do we need to do anything about the fact that we
I don't know,
thought
ask
this
John.
early?
I don't know.
What?
Number 2,
What about it?
we ended up dealing with it early because it pulled onto this agenda instead of
You talking about this?
the last one, not the one we just did, but the one
The resolution?
yeah.
It was-
That one was just for here, though.
yeah.
It also went to sustainability. Oh, we're okay. We took action today. Sustainability already heard
Right.
about it.
Yeah,
So
we're
we're
done.
okay. Good. All right.
Okay, all right, so the next item, the next item in the agenda is, I need to turn my computer back on. Item 72568, boards, commissions, and committee structure. And for that, I think we have a couple people from staff to present, so well, this is just a informational item only, right? So we don't need a vote on this, but we have someone from staff to speak on this item. I don't know who's going to start with this one. Christy, do you need any support for chairing, or how do you want to continue?
I do have slides to share if that's okay.
Yeah, I
Point of order.
barely hear you, Sherry.
Cannot hear her at all.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
We can hear you much better now. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, I forgot I had this on top of my head. Is it okay if I share my slides?
Sure.
Okay. Let's see. And can everybody see that okay? No.
No.
No, I don't see that coming through either. Although it looks like it's not on the screen in the room either.
No.
Okay. The truth is I think I can do this without if I need to, but let me try one more time. That looks different on my end. Does that work?
You're here.
Do you see that
You're
now?
up. Yep, you're up. I mean, at least,
Okay.
can everyone else in the Zoom see the slides?
Okay, great. Now,
Hold on for a second, Chrissy. Does anyone on the Zoom see the slides? Did she say?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
okay, great.
Good.
And I can, of course, only partially see you, but that's a different issue. Okay, this is a quick update, I think, to what we've talked about several times at CCEC, what we were here talking about in December. Isaac and I and Karen have all been doing more work on this project, and we want to update you on where you're at and get any guidance you might want to share. So if you'll recall, we were here in December 10th with results of analysis we've been doing over time, recommendations on which boards, committees, and commissions to either combine together or dissolve or somehow otherwise change. We had support for that. We proposed as promised, we sent a memo to all of those committee members in December telling them that this was a proposal being considered and telling them that we would come to their meetings in January to ask for their input on if this body of work is going to happen in a different way, what's most important about it, how should we carry that forward. And we've been doing that. We've been working through those January meetings. We had also been slated to then work to put that language into an ordinance to propose in February at the February 11th meeting, which is 2 weeks away. So we wanted to give you an update on what we've been hearing and confirm what makes sense to have in that package and confirm what makes sense for our timeline. So just quickly, must not be. Okay, that's more scrolling than I meant to do, but we have met with a number of committees to date. I'm just going to kind of quickly breeze through this and let you know we have a few more to meet with. I'm going to have to go here. I'm too much scrolling, sorry. And what I really want to do is talk about what's in the legislative what we would think the legislative package might look like based on what we've been doing and hearing, and get your input on that. And as part of this, I'm going to walk through the items on this slide and give you a sense of what we've been hearing and learning from the committee conversations as well. So what we're looking at now is the full body of changes that we had talked about in December actually coming forward on two different tracks. One where the language to change an ordinance is more straightforward, something that we feel ready to put forward, and one where the language needs a little more time. It may be because it's more complicated in how it shows up in code, or because we're working with partners and we just haven't gotten as far enough with those partners to really have a proposal yet. So here's kind of briefly what we've been hearing. And I guess I want to acknowledge that this is hard. It took a long time for us to even come forward and say, here's the changes we would recommend, because as much as many alders say, yes, we should have fewer committees, everybody's going to have different sentiments on which ones. That's just the nature of things. So we had talked about going to committees, not really focusing on the question of should we do this or not, because we understood probably that's from a particular point of view, nobody has that lens to the entire committee system. They have a lens to their own committee. But we were asking them more, how should this look if it's done? What should be lifted up about your work and carried forward into a new structure? And I will say that's been a point of tension. People definitely want to give us input on whether we should do this or not. And so we've heard that, and I'll include that too. So first, a proposal to combine 3 committees into one new committee: Community Services, Committee on Aging, and Early Childhood Care and Education. Most, not all of you were here last time when we talked about our rationale and kind of findings that led to these recommendations. I hope it's okay. I'm planning to skip that for the sake of time because we're giving an informational at the full council tonight. You'll hear it there. So if anybody wants to ask me questions, I'll be happy to answer them. But I'm mostly going to dive into this as if it's a continuation from our last conversation. And you'll get more background tonight, like it or not. So on the Committee on Aging, there's 3 committees we went to visit. Early Childhood Care and Education, they had concerns. I think they were concerned that losing the focus within a committee means losing a focus on the work. We don't think that's true, but that was a sense that they had. They weren't sure how the 3 places would come together. They were concerned that they bring expertise and that expertise might be diluted on a larger committee. And they felt the timing is rushed. They wished they could spend more time talking about this. I did follow up with staff afterwards and say that the expertise that they brought up, tell me exactly how that comes into play and how often. And it is something that comes into play with accreditation, with appeals of accreditation, and those things we're learning are changing and happening less and less. We haven't had an appeal of accreditation in over 5 years. We are moving from a system of accrediting childcare from every year to every 3 years. Funding proposals, they have a hand in approving them, but they're multi-year, so that doesn't happen every year. So it's an expertise. We think it could be incorporated into a larger committee, and it's an expertise that matters. But not on the actions that it applies to are less than monthly. I guess they're at a different frequency. Committee on Aging, we unfortunately did not meet quorum. And so we were not able to talk to them about this. We did send everybody the memo and invite them to send us comments. We've not yet received. We did speak to Alder Revere, who's a member. He spoke to us about a number of committees. He, I think, shared some worries about losing a focus on a particular population, an aging population, if it was in a larger group. Community Services Committee, it was a little more mixed. Some worried about a diminished focus. On one person who also is the representative from Committee on Aging, she worried and asked about, would this diminish a focus on seniors? Staff had good response to that, saying, there's a number of areas they work on related to crisis intervention and prevention, school-age children and youth, employment, neighborhood centers, and right now older adults is next to that, but in fact, older adults or early childhood intersects with every one of these topics, and yet is kind of siloed off and sequestered from it in a different committee. And that was one of the things that we're considering as well. Some showed support for this and the value of having multi-generational conversations and lenses on all of these issues. And when asked what's most important to carry forward, we heard a balance in membership between experience and general resident voices, and maintaining the work they do on funding proposals. So that's maybe the longest one. They won't all be this long. That was the one that was 3 committees, but I'm happy to stop for questions or keep walking through. Maybe I'll keep walking through and we can get questions at the end. Below that, proposals to dissolve committees and transfer work elsewhere. We had mentioned dissolving the CDD conference committee. This is a relic from the past when we had certain funding streams that multiple committees would come together to pass. That doesn't happen anymore. The committee doesn't meet. So it's really just moving it forward in that way. Downtown Coordinating Committee, this was a bit mixed. Some members supported the dissolution. Some understood why and didn't, kind of were in the middle. Some did not support it. In terms of official duties to shift elsewhere, they note that they have an official review of the downtown bids budget, and they offer they're a hearing venue for anybody who wants to come speak on their mall maintenance charges for State Street. So those are things that we would have to look at. What committee could take them on? Potentially finance. They could be there, or economic development committee. Some members noted that one of the reasons we explained for this was that there's a number of committees that focus on downtown, such as Destination Madison or DMI or the bid. And there's a lot of others that look at placemaking citywide, but including downtown, like the Landmarks Commission or the Arts Commission or others. There were notes that this particular focus of downtown centric, there's no, everyone has their limitations, whether you're a member of DMI because you're a paid member, or the bid maybe not having as many business owners, shop business people, front-facing business people versus the property owners. So there was some conversation about not being sure that when I would suggest there's other avenues that they felt it was covered in the exact same way. And I'll note that Alder Verveer mentioned that he may add an amendment to propose a sunset clause that's different, essentially a different effective date of this, to allow the committee to finish work that they're doing on the Mifflin Street Plaza before the committee dissolves. And I don't actually have a date for that, but I think that that would be something that we would have to learn more from staff about if he wanted to pursue that. Next, Ho-Chunk Nation City of Madison Coordinating Committee. This is a committee that has not met in 12 years. We reached out to the Ho-Chunk Nation and said, we see this still technically as a live committee, but it does not meet. Is this a way you would like to coordinate with the City of Madison, or would you like to coordinate in other venues? They would like to continue coordinating in other ways. They were supportive of eliminating this committee, so we're going to go ahead and eliminate this committee. Public Safety Review Committee, we have not been there yet. Their meeting is February 12th. Note that that's one day after the introduction date I mentioned of February 11th, so we're going to return to that, but note that. And then I'm going to hand it to Isaac to talk about the urban forestry work, because that he was leading those discussions.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So I went to both the Board of Park Commissioners and the Board of Public Works early in January, and I will be attending the Habitat Stewardship Subcommittee. I believe it is on February 11th, so the same day that this would be proposed, to discuss transferring urban forestry responsibilities, more commonly known as tree board responsibilities, from the Habitat Stewardship Subcommittee of the Board of Park Commissioners over to the Board of Public Works. Ultimately, this is a really short and sweet response that we got from both Park Commissioners and Public Works, which was go for it. The Board of Park Commissioners said that they understand how kind of the tree-related issues make sense in regards to utilities and right-of-way more than habitat. And then the Board of Public Works agreed that this change would make sense based on urban forestry's move to be within the streets division a couple of years ago. So we kind of got the thumbs up and go ahead from each of them, and we will meet with Habitat Stewardship Subcommittee soon. Handing it back over to Deputy Mayor Mel for the rest of these.
Thank you. One newly added other change at the bottom of this slide is adding flexibility to the CDBG committee membership. This was suggested as there's a handful of seats that have specific membership requirements, such as you must be from a certain census tract, a person of color, and they've made the seats sometimes more difficult to fill, and we've as a result had vacancies. So we're proposing to not strip the value for that, but make them, maybe we strive to have members that that have a balance of these different that meet kind of on a number of these criteria without having them assigned to specific seats, so that it helps us with our ability to maintain a full committee and make sure that we can make sure we're meeting quorum and that we're not just struggling to fill specific seats. It sounds like this has been discussed with the CDBG committee in the past, and they were supportive of it. We're going to take it back to them on February 6th to make sure that that's still the case, but that was suggested as an addition. And then moving over to the right side of the slide for February 11th resolution, we had proposed a combination of economic development and vending oversight committees, so that both of those committees, as they do their work, can see that full range of business spectrums and perspectives, and we think it'll make it richer on both sides. We heard from staff that this is a pretty complicated ordinance because the vending oversight committee has a lot of quasi-judicial responsibilities. They show up in a number of places, and this also happens to be the busiest 8 weeks of the year for vending and vending oversight, because this is where they get all of their vending permits, have to review them, process them, and then get them out so that vendors can be set up by April 1st. And so they were hoping for a little more time to figure out how to do this right. What of those quasi-judicial authorities could be built in with a new committee structure? Which ones might actually just be approvable by staff and not need a committee review? And so they'd like to put forward a resolution saying, staff are directed to go and do this work and come back to the council with the amended ordinance by such and such a date. We've taken this to the Economic Development Committee. They were supportive. I think they were cautiously supportive. They were kind of like, what, we need to make sure we do this well, and it's got to look right because we don't want all of our meetings to become 5 hours long, but we think it can be done. We think it opens some interesting opportunities. We're game. So, and we go to Vending Oversight Committee tomorrow night. Let's see. In addition, the rest of these are things that need a little more exploration. We had Civil Rights had proposed that we have civil rights awards in a number of different bodies, and there may be some way to bring those bodies of work together. They involve working with outside organizations, with the county, and so they need a little more time to explore before we are sure it's something we want to recommend, and if so, exactly what would it look like. A joint campus area committee, we had explored transferring the staffing of this to the University of Washington. We have a meeting on the books to talk to them about it, but we haven't gotten to a point of finality on that. Likewise, at our last December discussion, Alder Evers suggested we think about that same thing with the City County Schools Collaborative Committee, and we've reached out, but we're not at a place of finality with that either. So we would recommend also referencing those in a resolution as work you direct staff to pursue or explore, and we can put this in front of you. So I have
Christy, and
Good. Yes.
to clarify, that would be for the University of Wisconsin, I think you meant, right?
Yes. What did I say? Did I say Washington?
You did.
I went to both of those UWs.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
sometimes I don't hear myself. So sorry about that. We can take it to the University of Washington too, but I'm not
It
sure.
did sound appealing, but let's
It
just
might
make
be a
sure.
harder sell. Yeah. The next slide is just about timing. So does anybody want to ask any questions about any of this before we go forward?
Are there any questions from the body so far on these recommendations from staff? Hands. Don't see any hands at the moment.
Okay.
So please proceed.
Okay. So this repeats a little of what I already said about the conversations we've been having in January. We're updating the full council as an informational tonight because we want this to be on everybody's radar. Everybody has different committees they care about. And I know a number of alders have been paying attention. We want to make sure everybody is thinking about this before something's we just want to make sure everybody has a chance to ask questions, understand it, and give input into it before a package is written and introduced. And so on that note, we had talked also in February about timing for an ordinance. We had talked about February 11th. We were not going to propose to formally, at that time, the sentiment was it didn't necessarily make sense to formally refer it to every one of these committees, because the question before us is how many committees should the city have? And what's the right way to meet that structure? And there's no single committee that's in a position to answer that question. So part of the reason we're going to them all now is to get their input in the ways that they can give it, which is what matters most about their work. And so we were going to introduce on February 11th, refer to CCEC, and I believe, and then refer back to the Common Council. Alders can change their minds about that, but that was the discussion we had last month. I just want to note that February 12th date of PSRC, and if that is the intended referral schedule, then I would recommend that still being an informational meeting with PSRC, just as it's been with all of the others, and that we would then take anything they provide to us and think about whether that means we would need to issue a substitute, rather than making one official referral without making all of the official referrals. That's certainly not something you have to decide about today. This is something I want to put in your mind to consider. But what I would like to make sure I'm aware of whether we're still interested in aiming for February 11th, or if anybody would like to suggest anything different than that. Okay.
Again, any Alder Duncan?
Would we be able, thank you, Chair, would we be able to possibly, I guess, move the introduction of the legislation, since it is going to PSRC on the February 12th, to the next council meeting, just to make it easier?
It's certainly possible. I think the challenge would be, what if the consensus of the council is that they'd like to refer it back to all of the committees? That would make us hard pressed to do it before potentially having changes in council membership, where we would then be thinking about appointing people, new alders, to committees that we are potentially about to dissolve. So that's one of the pieces of tension around the timeline.
Okay.
It's not undoable at all, but it's just one of the factors we were balancing.
Thank you, Alder Duncan. Any other questions from the body? I don't see any hands raised. Christy, thank you so much for the presentation, and Isaac and Karen for all the work that you guys have put into this. So I'm looking forward to further discussion at the council floor. Thank you.
And I forgot my one last comment in that we will be reaching out to members of CCEC who have been working on this for their interest in being named as sponsors as well. So you'll be hearing from us on that.
Good to know. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. So this was an informational item and doesn't require a vote. So we can move on to the next item in the agenda, which is any committee updates elders may want to share with the rest of the body. Anything happening in your committees that is routing that we should be paying attention to? Alder Conklin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to let people know that the Sauk Creek Greenway project, the corridor final draft, is coming to council. First, it's going to be at the Board of Public Works tomorrow. And then it has a couple other ones I should look at, but I think it's coming back to us on March 11th for approval. I just want to say that, I have, and we have, the city engineer, Jojo O'Brien, has been working diligently on this project. We have spent over a year and a half in engagement. So I just want everyone to know that it is on its way, and I'm very pleased with the work that we have done and the adjustments that we have made listening to our community. So I just hope that you guys take a look at it. JoJo honestly put together a 104-page overview. So have fun reading that, but it's very informational. She has a lot of videos and pictures and links for you guys. And I'm here if you guys have any questions.
All right, thank you. I mean, we won't be able to ask you questions here because, we can discuss it, but thank you for bringing that up. That's a project that has gotten a lot of attention. So tomorrow at Public Works. Alder Curry?
Thank you, Chair. The Disability Rights Commission has been struggling meeting quorum and has vacancies, so is publicizing the need for commission members. So I know Rebecca Hoyt is the staff member that staffs the commission. So interested folks can reach out to her about the process and even for assistance filling out the application. And by ordinance, the commission prioritizes individuals with disabilities, family members, and advocates of the population.
Thank you, Alder Curry. I saw something on the council page on Facebook, so we could take some of those graphics maybe and share them in our blogs so we can help spread the word. Thank you both for those updates. Anybody else has any input? If not, we'll then proceed to the council office updates.
All right. Thank you, everyone. So a couple of things that I wanted to bring to your attention. The city has launched a public records request online portal, and we have placed a link to this portal on the council website. So you'll be able to, I also sent this to everyone so they can click on the link and folks can try that out. My main update here is about Alder onboarding. So agencies are working on reviewing and updating their onboarding videos and documents in preparation for April. We are doing the same with all of our materials as well as our handbook materials and coming up with additional information for you. And nice update here, I want to say, if you're not running for re-election and would like to help Debbie get a head start, go ahead on your outgoing Alder honoring resolution. Go ahead and contact her for instructions, and she's happy to get that going. And as some of you have noticed, perhaps in previous updates, all Alders returning and new who do not already have a city laptop will be receiving one in April, and there will be more information on that at a later date. I also provide a few save the dates. Some are more firm than others, but I thought it would be nice for folks to start getting a sense of what's going on. We're obviously building this program, and we'll have more details soon. And then I wanted to highlight 4 trainings that I think Alders might find useful, and so I have them here as well. ResJ Foundations is back. I know that was one training of interest in the recent past, and so I wanted to flag that it is back in person at Pinney Library. Great opportunity. So that's all I got. Oh yeah, I should clarify, the city laptops that you'll be receiving are city-owned laptops that everyone will be serviced. All right.
Which are loaners. So,
Yes, you would return them at the
loaner
end of your term,
Correct.
but they would be serviced and serviced along with in the regular service cycle with all the
And we will have more information later, but I
Yes.
just want to clarify that they are loaners during your
Yes.
term.
correct.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Any questions for Karen?
Oh my goodness.
No questions. So again, informational item. Legislator item 78-125, the last agenda item number 7 is future agenda items. If you have anything to add to the list, please do so now or send an email to Karen and we'll keep them, if that's something that we can accommodate, we'll do so. I don't see any hands raised. Alder Duncan. Just a minute.
Do a motion to adjourn?
Oh, let me get So with
Second.
nothing, oh my God, with nothing else in the agenda, I guess I take a motion for adjournment. Thank you, Alder Duncan. A second, I think I heard Carrie over there.
Can she second if she's not voting?
Oh, she's not voting, she can because she's here. Okay, Alder Martinez.
Second.
There you go. Alrighty then. Alrighty, so I guess let's take it. Is there any objection on, I always forget that part. Is there an objection on recording unanimous vote for adjournment? Alder Martinez, you have an objection? Thank you. Alrighty, so we record an unanimous vote for adjournment, and this meeting is over. Thank you so much, everyone. See you in a little bit. Bye-bye.